guys, it's Jack here, and today me and Andrew bring you a preview of the York9 Halifax Wanderers game. So that game is going to be super crucial in the deciding on who goes through. We talk about that a lot in the chat with Nathan from Greenline.TV. Yes, he is back on our show, and we had such a great time talking with him. So you should totally check out this this chat. It's super awesome. So stay tuned, and all of this awesome previewing of this game is coming up shortly.
But first, how's your summer been, Nathan?
Yeah.
My summer has been crazy. I actually got a new puppy recently, and yeah,
Cool.
she's a mix between a Leon Burger and a Saint Bernard, so it's a lot of work. Summer's been good. I've been going back to work now in Toronto. Things have started to open up again, so going back to work is always busy, and I was doing a bunch of online courses for school, so summer's been very busy.
Right, and then you've also got your YouTube channels, right?
Yeah, I've got, for Greenline.TV, I found that the channel got a lot of traction and a lot of people were tuning in.
Good.
How about you guys? You guys have been doing some great interviews. I watched like all of them. I really like the ones you do with the York9 players. Of course, I'm a bit biased, but
well, we have a couple more that are coming out actually, with York9 players
that are scheduled to release.
Oh, I won't ask you who they are, just to keep it.
Okay. Well, you'll be surprised.
So it'll be
they're
a surprise
good
for you. Yeah,
Okay.
we try and get a lot with York9 players. We love talking about York9. We think it's a very exciting club to talk about.
It is. A lot of things happening with York9. Very excited to see what the future brings.
So what do you think overall of the island games? Like the whole season. Like, what's your kind of overall impression of the play on the field?
I thought like you could you'd be able to tell that the players were out for so long, but I guess because they were training for a while, and because the island games obviously returned a lot later than half the other leagues, I guess the players had more time to prepare, and I thought the level of play was very good. The first game I was so surprised by, when Atletico Ottawa, I did not know they would be playing like that. It's very impressive to see how they can get a team together so quickly and then play like that on the field. So the island game's been good, very exciting.
Yeah, Atletico Ottawa was a surprise to me too. I thought they'd be good, but I wasn't sure how good, and I wasn't sure if how good they would be in this first season, just because with all those new signings.
Mm-hmm.
But they've done really well for getting all these signings just right, one after another, and they've brought in some high-profile players like Francesco, for like Acuna. Viti Martinez played in the second division of Spanish football, I believe.
Yeah.
Benjamin Fisk, Ajay Cabra.
And it's surprising because their squad is also so small compared to everyone else. So those players are playing a lot of minutes, and they still keep it up. So good for them.
Yeah, Pacific has done that as well too. But let's talk about the previous matches. So we could go with York9 first, HFX Wanderers first. It's your choice since you're our guest.
Well, to be honest, I haven't watched as many of the other teams' games as York9, so I'll let you guys start. I'm interested to hear, because I watched their previous game, the last game where they beat, so it was a Pacific, or where where they beat Edmonton, where Morelli scored a brace. He's a special player. He's a very special player. I think he's going to take your team to new levels.
Yeah, so like last game was our first win of the island games. I thought we've been doing really good pressing, and we've done really good pressing, and the midfield has been really nice, whether it's been Louis Bellon-Goyette, Abukar Sissoko, and Andre Rampersad, or if it's been Andre Rampersad and Abukar Sissoko with JackMurray as the cam. I think the midfield has done very well for it being really completely new. Because Andre Rampersad didn't know Abukar Sissoko or Louis Bellon-Goyette or JackMurray coming into this.
Yeah.
But they've done really well. They've done really well together.
It's interesting to see because they all have similar qualities. Like Andre Rampersad, he's a very good defensive midfielder, but he's also very skilled, and he's able to make those link-up passes with players like Morelli, who are a bit smaller and play like that with a lot of skill. So it's kind of interesting to see how new players coming into your squad can bring out certain qualities from older players you had before. So.
Yeah, and on the wings, what we were talking about, like me and Dad, we had noticed that Stephen Hart had been bringing in these like small, really explosive, fast, tricky players on the wings, like Alex Marshall, Corey Bent. You could put Akeem Garcia there, or Alessandro Riggi. Just a lot of very fast and tricky players.
Alex Marshall also, I'm excited to see what he can do. There were so many people I was talking to because we were supposed to get Nicholas Hamilton in the season for a teammate.
Yeah.
And
people were
Alex
saying, Marshall.
Yeah, Alex Marshall is a very good player too. He's gone on trial in clubs all over Europe, so I think he's gonna you guys have such a good core, young team. It's exciting to see what they can do in the future. I know that it's still a project now, but in the next couple of years, who knows what the Halifax Wanderers can be.
Yeah, Stephen Hart said that he kind of wants at 2022 or 2023 or in a couple of years. That's when all of this is building up to that process. But you guys were supposed to get but you also were supposed to get Adrian Ugrazia, who unfortunately had to let go. Nicholas Hamilton, who is a teammate of Alex Marshall. I was excited to see that rivalry. I'm not sure if is he coming back for the next season?
He is. So he signed to a multi-year deal, and I think now they're trying to send him on loan somewhere in Jamaica probably, just because he can't travel. So, I was really excited to see him play. He's another very good player. There's a lot of good players from Jamaica that they're all hidden.
And what about Agrazia? What happened with him? I wasn't aware of that.
Again, I guess the team just decided that if he's not going to be able to come to play in the island games, you're much better off with the transfer fee sending him somewhere else. So I guess they kind of just took out his contract because it was just a year contract. Who knows? Maybe he might come back later, but I just didn't see him or players we had a striker named Jacko.
Yeah, Jacko. Yeah, I was gonna mention him.
Yeah, all the players from South America, it seemed like if they didn't come over before the pandemic, I know it happened with you guys. You guys had a Brazilian center back.
Yes, Eric Santos. He's supposed to come next year, though. That's what I heard, at least. Yeah,
I think Ugariza and Jacko were both on one-year deals, so I think it just made more sense to, disband the contract and part ways. But I'm kind of happy with what we've been able to bring in also in a very short period of time. So
yeah, a lot of young, exciting players like Ija Haley, Max Ferrari.
Yeah, Max Ferrari, Lowell Wright is a very good player. Isaiah Johnston. The CPL, I find it's a very, very, very exciting league because you have all these young players who are now able to showcase their abilities, and it's just very promising to watch, especially if you're a fan of the Canadian national team. So all of these players, they're just added into that selection pool for John Herdman. So
yeah, which is great if we're going to be a contender in the World Cup, because John Herdman will need some options, and a lot of players in the CPL definitely have that quality to be a sub, to be a starter.
Exactly.
Yeah. Especially since they're looking for like the Canadian men's national team kind of need like these center backs, which opens up a lot of doors for players like Peter Shala, Dominic Zator, Luca Gasparotto. But we also.
Well, who has caps already? Is it just Petrasso on York 9?
On York 9, Manny Aparicio got one cap, I think.
Okay.
Yes,
yeah.
he did. He did.
Yeah.
And
Manella, I think, has gotten youth caps. I'm not so sure if he's fully got senior team caps, but I know he's played for the U21s and U18s. So, I mean, hopefully he can get into that squad as well.
Right, and you guys have been hit a little bit by the injury bug. Aparicio started injured. Manella hasn't played yet, and Petrasso's injured.
Fushi was injured as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Before, so I'm now worried. Abzi, he was supposed to play in the Olympic squad this summer. I think he missed the last game, and everyone's trying to figure out, is he injured? Is he not? Who knows? We'll see. Hopefully he's fine.
And what did Brennan say?
Brennan, I guess he didn't really address it. He just said it's more like just squad changes. We had a lot of players who hadn't played before. Like Fugo Sagawa just came in, played all of the full 90 minutes. It was exciting to see what he can do. He came into the tournament injured, so it was good to see him on the pitch finally.
Yeah, and also I just want to talk about the previous matches for one little second. So we've all seen the previous matches, so I wanted to take turns giving a rating overall of each team's previous matches. So we could start with York 9 first if you want, because we started with the Wanderers last time.
Sure. Let's start with York 9. So the first game against Atletico Ottawa. Now, is this rating scale like a A+, B+, or is it like a number type rating?
I was thinking B+, A+.
B+, A+. So Atletico Ottawa, I have to say probably a C, maybe C-. I was pretty shocked at how we came out. You were thinking like this squad is probably on paper. I think we had the best squad in the whole league, and I was just really sad at that first game. We looked so not necessarily like out of shape fitness wise. Like there was not a lot of communication, and most of our starting lineup is all returning players. So I was thinking they would go out and attack this new team and like show them like we played in this league before.
And we're going to be the new champions, take the crown.
Exactly. Yeah, but
we were. I think almost everybody was expecting it. So you're C-?
I'd say a C-, yeah, for first game.
Okay, I'm going to be a little more optimistic than you. I'm going to go for C.
Okay.
And I just want to make a comment on that game. That was a really interesting game because I thought that Ottawa wouldn't be as easy as people were kind of writing them off to be.
Yeah.
But I think that until they got that red card, I think if they didn't get that red card, I think Ottawa would have won.
I think they would have won too. That red card also to Ottawa was like, just to be fair, like that wasn't a red card. I don't know any other game that's not a red card. So it was pretty sad to see that. I know I'm a York 9 fan, but I'm also a fan of like the whole league. So I knew that Ottawa, if they played so well that first half, I thought that maybe they deserved the win today. So it was pretty sad to see them get that red card. That Noveville is a very good player, and you saw that once he came off, they looked a lot more spread out and easier to break down. So
yeah, and by the time York 9 got that second goal, there was still like 20 plus minutes left. I thought at that point York 9 was gonna win. So at first I thought Ottawa should have won that game, and then by the end of it, I was thinking like York 9 was gonna win, but they kind of held off on the draw.
Yeah. Rating.
But it was kind of like the testing ground because no one had really seen Atletico Ottawa. So it was probably hard to be prepared.
Yeah, I'm excited to see your rating.
And I don't think Jimmy Brennan was real happy about that performance.
I don't think he was either. It's almost, it was surprising to see, like, when the kids came on, like Max Ferrari, Lowell Wright, they brought so much energy into that game. And it's almost, it's so surprising to think that these new players who haven't played a single minute of professional CPL soccer are able to bring so much speed and energy to a game and then it just makes you look at some of this other players we have who are much more experienced. Like, where was that from you? Aren't you supposed to be the ones who are inspiring and showing the younger players how to play? So it was kind of disappointing to see what our other players were doing. But at the same time, I was so happy to see players like Max Ferrari and Lowell Wright coming on to a game and absolutely bringing so much life back into the game. So
yeah, they really changed the tide. I'll give it a C. I'll give it a C.
See?
Okay, so you're a little more optimistic.
But it was like such a weird back and forth game because it was because of that red card
of a game.
Yeah. A roller coaster ride for sure. And then York9's next game was also a crazy one. I believe it was against Pacific.
Pacific, yes, it was. The Pacific game, I thought it was a lot better than the Ottawa game, but at the same time, it wasn't that great either. The whole game was where it was just a battle in the midfield. We had Aparicio, DKR, and I think Murafushi had started that game as well.
Yeah.
And you could see the triangle between the three of them kept switching. Like at one point, Murafushi was at the cam and Aparicio and DKR were lower, and then it would switch again. And Pacific FC's midfield they're not ones to play in the midfield necessarily. You could see that players like De Jong and Caden Chung were bursting down the sides. So if we were so stuck in midfield that all of a sudden they would grab the ball and they would shoot it to the sides, and because we were so congested with our play, I found that De Jong and Chung, like especially De Jong, gave Maury Donors such a difficult time. He was just running the whole time, and yeah, I was kind of disappointed that we didn't prepare for that. You know, Marcel De Jong is such a good player with MLS experience, and yeah, I guess we didn't kind of scout that. I don't want to say maybe scout, but yeah, probably scout is the word. So
yeah, De Jong really impressed me when he came on. I just, because we never got the chance to really see him, play the previous year because I think he had a ACL tear or something like that.
Yeah.
But he was quite good in that game. And what do you think about the goal at the end? Did someone lose their marker?
The goal. See, the thing is, if Ingham is going to come out to punch, he can't punch with flat hands. If you look at the video, he came out. It's almost like somebody was supposed to win that header, didn't win it, and he didn't think the ball was gonna get to him, and just, I guess, first reaction was to put his hands up like that, and it's just unfortunate. We were so close. Like those games, like I know you're not playing well, but you still had the goal. Those are the games that really show your true character if you're able to grind out the win, and it's just unfortunate we weren't able to do that. So
right, and we Halifax ended up tying Pacific too, and that makes for a really interesting thing in the table because it's kind of like Forging and Cavalry look likely to go through, and then there's like kind of three other teams, Halifax, Pacific, and York9, and two of them are going to go through. One of them will not go through. So it's very close. And so we tied our game against Pacific too.
Yeah. Maybe. Oh, you go.
Oh, so for the rating, the rating I was going to give for that game, I'd probably say C+. C+. An improvement, but not a significant improvement. It's just a fan. Yeah, it's just as a fan, you feel so disappointed that everyone was super excited for this season and then it's just unfortunate that our new players like Alvaro Rivero and all, they came in and they did their jobs, but you want to see us, like you don't want to see single players bringing improvement to this team. You want to see collectively as a group, how did we improve from last season? So first couple of games were a bit disappointing, so I'd say C+ for that Pacific game.
Yeah, C plus for me too.
Yeah.
You, Daddy?
I'll give it a C because I didn't see all that much going forward from York 9,
Mhm.
and I think at that point Jimmy Brennan's
Yeah.
kind of getting
He's getting a bit
Upset.
anxious now. Yeah, you can
anxious. Yeah, that's a
yeah,
good
you
word.
can tell in his interviews he says he's not scared, but I'm sure they are scared now because half of our players are injured and we don't know what's going to come from the next games. Um, the only reason I would give the C plus for that Pacific game is because defensively, I thought for majority of the game we held our shape against the team that was pressing us so hard. And because your midfield wasn't doing much for you, players like Roger Thompson, Donor, Abzi, Gasparotto, they played a very good game. I think it's just disappointing that you need everyone to have a great game to
Great
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
that.
that's the reason why I gave it a C plus too. I just thought they were very good defensively.
Yeah,
But let's go on to their next game. Um,
Valor,
yeah,
Valor,
Valor.
the 0-0 draw. Oh man, that
0-0 draw.
I have to be honest, that was probably one of the most boring games I have ever seen before. I
And
would
as a
probably
York, as I was just gonna ask you a question. As a York 9 fan, when your team is supposed to be the best team in the league, or may want to supposed to be winning every game, how do you feel when you've gone 3 draws in a row and you feel like you're this close to winning, like with the Pacific game, but you just miss out on it? So
I thought so first game we draw. Maybe we shouldn't have won that game. Second game we draw, maybe we should have won that game. So I thought finally it's slowly you're improving. In terms of I can see from the first game if you improve, from the second game you're improved. You're hoping that third game will finally be enough improvement to take you through. And I don't know what happened in that game. That game was just no creativity, none whatsoever, and it's disappointing because players like Ryan Telfer and Rivera was playing that game, and you just hope we need creativity to help those players succeed. Players like Ryan Telfer, Rivera, they're not creative players themselves; they're finishers. So you have to create something for them to score the goals. And yeah, Valor was just, oh my gosh,
yeah, they're on top
Yeah.
of that, like of their defense aid, Andrew Jean Baptiste, Julian Dunn, who TFC should really be looking at right now, because he's performing great in this tournament. But there wasn't a whole lot to talk about in that game. There's some, but it's hard to give I'm finding this game it's harder to give a rating. I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like in the review that I did of the game, I didn't give out ratings that game because I knew that I would only be giving out 5s and 6s. Like I don't know what you're supposed to rate. Like you're so good at backwards passing. Like, I don't know.
Well, I'm going to give it maybe. Actually, someone else go first. I'm still deciding.
I think it's got to be a D because it was a major disappointment because at this point in the tournament, you're 3 games in, York 9 hasn't won, and they're touted to have this outstanding attack, and really haven't seen it. A lot of their goals, both their goals came after the red card in the first game. The second game was like a gritty battle. I think Pacific's a little bit better than
but to be fair, some of their main goal scorers were taken out, like Nicholas Hamilton, Adrian Grazia, and Jacko. Those were supposed to be the main goal scorers that were supposed to bring all of the goals.
I wouldn't necessarily say you can't use that as an excuse when you're heading into a tournament where you're competing. That our players that were supposed to come in were so great because. We now have players like Alvaro Rivera who played for Real Madrid Academy. Players like Vasconcelos. I don't know what the deal is with that. He's not getting a single minute after that first Atletico game. I don't know. Is it an injury? Is it like he's having a hard time gelling with the team? The players who are playing in attack, you feel bad for Lowell Wright. he played in that Pacific game, and as a young kid who's like 17 years old, like it's very hard to do. Like you're coming off a game where you scored a goal, everyone is like so happy for you, and then everyone's got high expectations for you that next game, and I feel like it's a lot of pressure to perform, and unfortunately for him, like that was just a very tight game, and he didn't have many chances. So I found that now players like Kyle Porter, Ryan Telfer's probably got taken the most shots in the entire league. I think if you look at the stats page, and he hasn't scored a goal.
Probably.
So that's kind of sucks. Maybe he's having a slow start. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm gonna rate it a D as well. I don't like to go below C minus when I'm rating stuff, but I just didn't feel like they performed well enough to give them a C minus or anything above that.
But then you look at it, we just rated those first games all about C or D, and you think, wow, York9 is hyped and they're underperforming.
Yeah.
And then their next game they beat Forge. They're the only undefeated team in the tournament, and then you're kind of like, well, I guess they're going up now. You know what I mean? Like,
I think maybe that Forge game was just you're playing your rivals. There was so much build up to it. Fans were always saying like, oh, 3 more days till Derby Day, 2 more days till Derby Day. And I think the players themselves, they know how important this game is to win. And it's like, oh, okay, finally, your players can finally show that you can score. And to be honest, the Forge game, it was good. It was a good game, but at the same time, there's still so much room for improvement. Players like Kyle Porter finally scored off the rebound. DKR again scored a goal, but he also scored a penalty.
A brace. He scored a brace. And that
I have
game
him
wasn't...
on my PL fantasy team.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I saw you. You're Nathan FC, right? On your canpl fantasy team. Yeah, you have 144 points. I have 143 points, and Daddy has 159 points, I think, or something around the 50 mark.
Yeah.
50 above 55.
But you're higher rated in your division than I am.
I guess for York9, like we have a separate like York9 group.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Hopefully.
So that Forge game was actually really good. So I think because there's a lot to build off of, but going into this next game, are they going to have enough against a team that just lost to Calgary, but you could have won, and just coming off a 3-1 win? So I'm gonna rate their last game with a B plus.
The Forge game? Yeah, I think B plus B is a good evaluation. I'd say it's not an A for sure because there's so much room for improvement. But yeah, B plus. I think B for me. B is a good.
I'm gonna go back to B. I'm gonna go slightly down to B. You go, Daddy.
That game I didn't see the whole game, so I'll.
It was like, okay, now your team is finally starting to put the pieces together. You just need to find all of the pieces, and I'm really excited to see what we can do in the next game, like tomorrow's game. That will be really exciting. Like, have we finally got our wins, got our team starting lineup in shape? Have we figured out what our game plan is? So, I don't know. Tomorrow's going to be a very tight and exciting game. Yeah, I'm looking forward.
And I'm just gonna go through the Wanderers games really quickly.
Of course.
If you don't know, if you haven't seen like their games, that's fine. And like I said, if you hadn't seen like it, you don't have to rate it. But their first game was against man. Sometimes I forget the order that they play in.
It was Pacific.
Pacific. Sorry, yeah, Pacific. It was a 2-2 draw, but the thing that made me upset was that both of those goals were from penalties. And and I like one of my friends says that you have to be, in order to get a penalty, you have to be in a close place to scoring, and that is true. But if you don't score anything from open play, and the other team scores their other 2 goals from open play, then I don't. It's almost hard to say that you deserve the tie, even if because they were playing around Pacific's level, but they didn't score for anything from open play. So I'm gonna go for a C plus. C plus.
I saw a bit of that game, and I think I'd probably say another C or C plus. You're right. There wasn't a lot of creativity, not a lot of willingness to shoot from outside the box or test the keeper. It's like your friend said. To get a penalty, you have to be in a good position. But for a penalty, you also have to rely on the defender to make a poor decision. So,
yeah,
it was a good game. Good that they grinded out and got the draw and got the point. But still, yeah, I was hoping Halifax would maybe take that win because I know Pacific is gonna be that other team. So.
Yeah, because I love the games are specific in the Wanderers because it's the coastal clash, and they each have one ocean representing them. So I always want to be the best ocean.
Yeah,
which is sometimes a bit hard to do because Pacific is a good team, but yeah.
Pacific is a good team, yeah.
Yeah, but what about you, Daddy?
I'll give it a B minus. It was concerning that there wasn't enough open play goals. They were pretty good defensively. I thought Pacific had a couple bounces that allowed them to score, but they definitely capitalized on that.
Yeah. And then let's go to the Wanderers' next game
against Forge.
Yeah, against Forge.
1-1 against Forge.
Yeah, 1-1 against Forge. And to be honest, that is really not a bad thing from one of the best teams in the league. And also, Forge were kind of at their peak. I think the Wanderers were their third game. Third game. So obviously you're getting tired, but you're not that super tired yet.
Yeah.
So I think that you could I think we did well against them. We have the best track record against them. So obviously we're doing something right against them. And I feel like we performed quite well in that game. We had some nice chances. Maybe we didn't put all of them away, but we did compete with last year's champions, who is one of the best teams. And then there was that penalty that shouldn't have been a penalty. So I really think we should have won. And just to be honest, because if you're punching it, I'm sure everyone saw Terry Dunfield's demonstration, and he did a good demonstration. But the final product was, in my opinion, a bit off. Because if you're punching it and someone bumps into you, you're gonna drop it and you're gonna fall. So even if he had caught it, you're gonna drop it. Or Kwame Wu is basically barreling into you when you're trying to get it away and you get pushed back. So I think it should be a foul on Kwame Wu.
I think we can all have our opinions, and I also think though it should have been a foul, but it's just that in the game, the referee also looks at it like Kwame Wu is going in there. He's got a lot of momentum. What else is he supposed to do? Maybe he can't get out of the way, but I don't know. Do you guys find that Terry Dunfield has a lot of, I don't know, interesting opinions? I feel he said something about Julian Dunn, especially he's kind of put at the back, and this is his last chance to make it at TFC. And I felt really bad. Like, Julian Dunn had played only one game. He's not really given an opportunity at TFC. So I don't know. Is that really his last chance?
I like Terry Dunfield. I think what I like about him is he tries to, when he's giving commentary or whatever, he tries to instruct. I find it good for kind of learning the game. And I mean, he's very familiar with the whole TFC academy because he coaches the U15 or something over there. But for me, I don't know. For me, it was like a 50-50, ball. What's he supposed to do? They're both going for it. I don't know. It was just kind of weird. And some people said that his knees were up, but to be honest, it's different than a 50-50 on the field because the goalkeeper, they're using their hands, whereas players, if their knees are up, I mean that's a high boot, but it's a different. Anyhow, I thought they played amazing against Forge. I was really disappointed with that penalty, but I can see how it could possibly be called that way. But other than that, I mean, I think the Wanderers really played an intense game against them, and I'll have to give it an A.
Yeah, I something that I always think is funny is that in the CPL, because the referees don't get VAR, the fans actually get a better view of it than the referees.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I can't see how the referees saw that because I know that as a goalie you don't want your knees up because like that it could happen, and if you see someone going in there and Jason Beaulieu just puts his knees up, I guess I can see that. That. But I don't think it was the right decision, but I can see that in the moment. I can see that. But I'm going to give it an A.
Yeah, I think I'd probably have to agree too. And A is a good result. Yeah, good for them. Like, those are the games where you find it tough, but you're able to grind out your result. And it's just it's just unlucky for them. Like, I thought players like Peter Schala played so well. Schala played so well that game. He was really instructing your fullbacks to, and
I believe it was Matteo Restrepo and Christian Vigenza.
Yeah, Matteo Restrepo is also a very young player, and to have a player like Schala who's telling you what to do is very good for Halifax to show that he's that leader in that team on the pitch. So
and he's also very young, which is also good that he's developed those qualities at such a young age that he will become a great leader going forward if he stays at this club, if he goes to a different club, and who knows, he might go to his favorite club, Eintracht Frankfurt.
Who knows? We always love to see players from CPL go on to do bigger and better things.
And then they played Cavalry. It was a tough game. Cavalry's really good. Tom Whelan Jr. had said that he kind of wanted to suffocate their midfield. They didn't really let that happen too much. They played well against them. I'm gonna say they did a B+ against them.
Andrew, how about you?
I'm gonna go for an A. I thought it was a tremendous performance again against the really, really strong team. And, it was just, that's just the way it ended up. They got that one goal, and then, that second one was just kind of like a turn around the box. I know a lot of people, thought the keeper should have had it, but there were a lot of bodies in the way,
Yeah.
He probably couldn't see it until it was too late. And, we were really close to, for most of that game, I was thinking, we could actually win this, or if we could just score, then we could hold off for a draw. So I thought it was a good performance.
Yeah. You go.
I would give that game also an A+. In my opinion, Cavalry is the best team in this league, and Halifax really showed that they can battle with them. And obviously, Cavalry has players of that quality who can do that quick turn in the box, and it's exciting to see that, as probably for you guys, Halifax fans, that you guys have shown improvement and can hold on, can battle a team like this, that maybe the next time Cavalry won't be so lucky. So
yeah, and then our last game was against the Eddies. We were very good at the wing play. Our midfield was really good. Jean Morelli really helped with that. He linked up with the defensive mid. Andre Rampersad linked up with the defense. Andre Rampersad linked up with Albuquerque Soko and them, and then they passed it up to Jean Morelli. He was able to distribute it to the wings. And that amazing pass by Alexandre Rigge. And I know he's taken some criticism for failing so many passes, but he's the one who's doing the most dangerous passes.
Yeah.
So you can't really blame him for that. And when they do work out, like they do work out, and he gets in behind. And Akeem Garcia is just so good at getting behind that back line and just putting it through the goalie's legs. But yeah, I'm gonna give that game an A, because Edmonton isn't the strongest team in the league, but we did very well. So I'm gonna give it an A.
I'd probably give that game an A+. I thought that, yes, it's true, Edmonton's not the best team in the game, but you guys actually showed that, okay, now we know that there was some weak spots. You really scouted that. There were so many times where Morelli would drift into the side and nobody would watch him, and you guys knew that would happen because of some of the Edmonton's previous games, and you guys really showed that you have full control over that game. It was really disappointing to not get the clean sheet. There was a great goal from Vlados. I don't even know how to say his name, but that last shot from outside the box. And Christian Oxner also, he had an injury before.
He also saved the penalty, which was great on him. Congrats, Christian Oxner. You're back, and then you save a penalty. He's a second penalty saver. But if he had gotten a penalty earlier, I'm sure he would have saved it too. But Cal Merving also did a good job on his penalty. But yeah, actually I might put it as an A+, because all the teams are much closer, like, in quality. So yeah, I'll actually give it an A+. What about you, Patty?
Yeah, I'll give it an A. I think it was a really good game.
Okay, now that we've covered their past games, we're going to go over some key players for each team real quick, and then maybe a predicted lineup super quick, and then our overview. Okay. So
key players for York9. Key players for York9, starting off Roger Thompson. I've been so impressed with him this tournament. Last year he had so many troubles with injuries, but now you can see what he really brings to that back line. Luca Gasparotto is a tough guy. He's the center back that defends. Roger Thompson, he's a player that defends, but he's also the player that will initiate your attack. He acts as like that quarterback, and how many times has he tried to pass forward? He's the only defender I've seen in this league who actually makes a real attempt to launch a ball over the top or play it forward. And I think against a team like Halifax, he's going to be really key. Like, can he do that? Because I know you guys love to press. So if he can do that, York9 might get chances over the top and can maybe get Halifax that way. Another player,
but I just wanted to ask you one question. So if you're the manager, let's just say that you're Jimmy Brennan, and you have played Matthew Arnone once or like twice
as a midfielder, right?
As a center defensive mid, and your center backs are doing relatively well. Are you thinking of maybe switching up Matthew Arnone with them to start one game, or when are you thinking of using him?
To be honest,
because he showed that he can play at Halifax.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm saying this next game, what if he switches to a back three, plays all three of them? You do run the risk that one of them may get injured, because we have to remember that there are only 3 center backs on this team, which going into the season, everyone was pretty worried. Like, we don't have much depth defensively, but I find that if we play against Halifax, if we can play a back three, Matthew Arnone is going to want to prove a point in this next game. He wants to play against Halifax. He loved playing at Halifax, and I'm sure he would love to play in that game. If we can play in a back three, maybe Abzi Donor on the wing back position, that puts them a lot higher than they normally are, which would help with their game, especially because they love joining the attack. And maybe stick with a midfield of just Aparicio and DTR. I feel like we don't need that 3 in midfield.
Right.
In tomorrow's game, and yeah, I would probably switch formations, do that 5-2-3, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty interesting idea there. Yeah, because like Gasparado's like you can't change your two center backs if you just keep it with two. And Gasparado's played every single minute of every single game forever, right?
Yeah, he has.
So he's not going.
He's also the most, I'd say, has the most defensive ability in our team. So you take him out, like what are you gonna do? Like Roger Thompson, he's great. He's a great forward thinker, but at the same time, he does make a few little mistakes defensively, and Gasparado's always there to take care of that. So,
right,
I would not take Gasparado out. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your next key player you're talking about, thought I heard Ryan. Ryan Telfer.
Ryan Telfer. I find that if he doesn't do much in this next game, there is a big question of is he our starting left wing? We have players like Kyle Porter who came in last game. I find that because you guys have such young fullbacks, maybe he can test them. Like I said, if we play a back, like play five at the back with Abzi much higher, they can have a lot of interplay with each other, and that would really help him. In the past few games, like Abzi, like he would come up to help, and Ryan would be shifting all over the place. Like maybe in the Halifax game, just stick to the left, because you know that you can just bomb down that that left side. So I think Ryan Telfer is going to be a key player with his speed. I think he can cause you guys a lot of trouble because, again, you guys play so high and press so much. So once we get the ball to him, if he can run, he can really trouble your back line. So.
Right. And that's what I'm worried about because, such a short...
I don't think that anybody's going to have a super easy time getting past us unless we're, super, super high. Because our midfield is really solid, even if you only go with the two, kind of CDM center mids and play Zhao up front as a cam. But yeah, and you can go or, say your last key player.
My last key player would probably be maybe DQ. I'd probably say DKR, actually. You guys have physical defenders like Rampersad, and who has played against other physical midfielders, but I feel Joe DiChiara brings a different level of physicality. You've seen in the past few games, he's not scared to jump into a challenge he reminds me very much of Sergio Ramos. If Sergio Ramos had to play in the midfield, that's what Joe DiChiara would be. He's high on emotions the whole game, and he's not scared to throw a body in front or jump into a challenge.
He actually reminds me of some of the people in my league, because we got people in our league that are like that, and chirping at the refs and throwing hard tackles, and then getting cards and stuff like that. But yeah, he's a really solid player. That should be a good matchup. Him against Rampersad and Sissoko or Louis, whoever's playing.
But
I mean, it's the thing is,
I think Alvaro Riviero could be a very important player as well, though.
He could, but I feel like players like Shala will lock him down. Like, you can see what he's been able to do in the past few games. He's quick and he's small.
What about Ferrari?
Ferrari, I don't know if he's going to start the next game. I think he'll definitely come on, in the second half.
And he may cause problems. That's what I mean. He might cause problems coming in at the second half.
Yeah.
You think we're this would be our fifth game into the tournament, short tournament. Halifax has been doing a lot of pressing. So I would think that Jimmy Brennan would probably be looking at guys like Ferrari and maybe even Ajahali to come in at that time, and kind of try to capitalize where
I'd like to see
some players start to get tired from not only just from this game but from the cumulative effect.
Yeah, I'd like to see either Max Ferrari or Ajahali start. Because Ajahali can be so explosive, if he comes on, It kind of reminds me of like a FIFA player in FIFA where he's just so fast and you bring him on and then he dribbles past everybody just because he's so fast. But he showed that he can be fast and he can get past players just as easily, even if he starts the game when he started.
Yeah, but I think he's going to want to leverage the speed later on in the game when things start to open up. However, that being said, I mean, you know, I said at the beginning, there are 3 teams kind of vying for these 2 spots, right? York 9, Halifax, and Pacific. We have both tied Pacific.
Yeah.
Now we're playing each other. You know, so it's a hugely important game for both teams. You know,
it's like a 6-pointer almost.
Yeah, it's like, okay, Pacific got 1 point against both of us. They've taken 2 points out of this whole 3-team matchup. If we can beat, if one of the teams win, if York 9 or Halifax win, they've got 3 points. That's automatically more than what Pacific was able to collect. So that puts you in a better position than the other 2 teams.
Yeah, I mean, because also if one of those teams win, which I think one of those teams will win, that will put both teams at 8 points. Well, it'll put you at 9 and us at 8. And basically, for you, that will be enough, I think, that could be enough to get into the next round. But 8 might be enough with the draw for us or a draw for you, because whoever wins this, I would say, because they can perform again, it's almost like whoever wins this will have a spot in the next round.
Exactly.
Pacific, because I don't think it's the same for Pacific. They've played us, the 2 other teams that are going to be vying for it. I don't think, like, maybe Atletico Ottawa could get like an upset in, but I don't think it will be. I think it will be these 3 teams, and because Pacific has only taken 1 point off of each of us, it's going to be very important about who wins this game. Because if York 9 loses, then it might be Wanderers and Pacific. If we lose, the Wanderers, then it could be York 9 and Pacific, depending on how it shapes up.
Yeah, I'm also very worried because York 9 hasn't scored many goals. So if the points are tied, like, Halifax will probably go through. You guys have got great goal difference, and you've played both of the best teams. We still have our game against Cavalry to come up.
Right.
So,
and that must be worrying for Jimmy Brennan, because you know, you got this game, you know, against Halifax, and then you have the Cavalry game. You know, the Edmonton, you know, he'll probably be expecting a win on that.
Yeah.
But if Halifax wins, then that puts a lot of pressure, because he's got to go in and get some kind of result against Cavalry as well.
Yeah.
So it's a hugely important game for everyone.
I feel like almost, even though this is only the 2nd year, a few coaches' jobs are at stake depending on how they do. A few being like Jimmy Brennan, because he made so much hype, like, who is with York 9 saying, we're going to be the best, we're going to take the crown. They even used the hashtag take the crown. And I'm not exactly sure if, I think he'll probably keep his job, but it's worrying if he doesn't get into the next round, because some people had predicted that they'd go all the way, they'd win the North Star Shield. They were basically, you guys were basically the favorites. Us and Pacific were the underdogs, who one of us would get into the next round. Most people think Pacific would get in.
Sorry, I feel for Jimmy Brennan, I feel maybe he'll get a few more years. I don't know if you guys know this, but he completed his full UEFA training. So he's now a fully licensed coach, and he's got the max, I guess, training or licenses that you can as a coach in Europe. Right. So he brings that extra experience. It's just, you want to look at it, I'm sure all GMs and owners will be looking at their managers and thinking, like, this was a tough year because of how many players you brought in who were hoping to come in and how many players you missed out on. The only manager I think who's really in trouble for his job is Jeff Paulus.
He's the other manager that I was going to talk about. But well,
going into the tournament, you know, I was thinking Rob Gale was pretty like on the ropes there. But yeah, I mean, Jeff Paulus, I think has had a disappointing tournament. They've kind of underperformed a little bit, and they haven't been able to score goals.
Yeah, each coach should probably get one more year, but after that, then it's kind of like in the danger zone for the coaches who haven't performed well. I think Stephen Hart has showed that this Halifax team is getting better, so I don't think like he's gonna get cut anytime soon. But I'm just gonna go to a few key players for Halifax. So I think some key players will definitely be Andre Rampersad, Peter Chalet, and Peter Chalet, and I'm tossing and turning between Jao Morelli and Akeem Garcia because those two are definitely going to be quite important. What about you, Daddy? What do you think?
Sissoko's been one of the best players for me. Chalet has been excellent. Rampersad has been excellent again. Morelli, the one thing that I'm just not sure about, and I think the managers are trying to figure out, is how are the other ones going to play, right? Because the last game for Halifax was the first time he played just kind of the two more kind of two-way midfielders in Rampersad and Sissoko, and he allowed Morelli to play in that number 10, cam role. In all the other games, he's had three of those kind of two-way midfielders, and so it's kind of, I think, this balance of are they going to go for it and kind of just play the two-way midfielders and Morelli and try to do what they did against Edmonton, or are they going to go back to something more defensive and hope that the wingers or Morelli, playing more on the outside, can create something anyhow, but kind of go into the match defensive, not wanting to kind of give York 9, any advantages or.
I could see something like him doing a three-way midfield, and if he feels like he can win this game, like Stephen Hart, then he might transition, bring Morelli on, and give him like a 45 minutes. But another thing is, those three midfielders, like the three center defensive ones, have had a lot of minutes, and who knows if they're gonna get tired, because Sissoko's had a little break just for the end because his stomach was hurting. But Andre Rampersad hasn't done anything. But as a captain, you kind of already have that obligation to play most games and start most games. But I could see him going for a three-man midfield, more of the three CDMs, and then transitioning more into a center attack. Then bringing in Morelli at halftime if he feels like he can win this game.
Yeah. If I was Stephen Hart, I would probably go with what Andrew was saying with the two-way midfield with Rampersad and Sissoko, because if you watch York 9's game and the game we played against Atletico Ottawa, you saw how much trouble that Francisco Acuna caused us. And Morelli he's basically the same player in terms of skill and speed, and you probably know, if you watch that, you saw how we can set up properly to take care of that, and Morelli surely has the qualities to do that again. So I would put Morelli up front and just test our back line and try and play those passes. And even if what Jack was saying, who knows, maybe at halftime, if anything, I would play maybe Morelli as a center forward or false nine, and then have your two wingers a little bit higher, so that way he's in that focal point in the center and he can just spread to the side. Because if we have Maury Donner's played every single minute as well, and he's probably tired. So
and that's a lot of running for fullbacks.
It is a lot of running.
And is there another right fullback? I feel like another right fullback has like gone under my radar. Like, do you have another right fullback?
On paper, we don't really have out and out right back, but Kyle Porter and Ajahali both can play as a right. Like Kyle Porter has experience playing as a right
Oh,
back.
does he? Okay, I didn't
Yeah,
know
he
that.
does.
Okay.
Yeah, in the game against Ottawa, actually, when we wanted to bring Max Ferrari on, and we actually pushed Kyle Porter into that right back spot for a while.
Okay.
And Ajahali, when he played for TFC Academy, he has played there as well. So, but
Yeah,
for,
I kind of knew that Ija Haley had played there. But
He's fast,
I
that
kind of
kid.
like him but I kind of like him more as a up front as a winger.
Mhm.
But I didn't know Kyle Porter could play there. I know he could play a few different positions, but I didn't know he could play there.
Yeah, but I feel like
But
in such an important game, would you really swap out your best right back? Probably not. I don't know. I think for me, Maury Donor has to start at least the first half,
Yeah.
because that's when you really dictate the pace of a game and who's on top or not. So yeah, Maury
What
Donor.
about
okay,
some of the other injuries? Manella, Petrasso, are they going to be back?
I don't think so. Manella, I know he. I don't think he's actually started training yet. Petrasso is out for sure. So, and also in a game like this where it's so important and you want to play quick, are you really going to bring back your tired and injured players? They might play the last 10 minutes or so once we've figured out how it. Like for example, if we go maybe 2-0 up, you might see. Um, you might see Manella or Petrasso if they're fit, or even players like Murafushi, Sagawa, players like that come on. If you saw Murafushi, he was injured before the tournament. He had an Achilles
yeah,
injury. He didn't play the first game, and the second game he slowly played a few minutes, and then the next game he's come on late in the half. So for me, I think Murafushi is probably the one injured player who's probably gonna play tomorrow's
yeah,
game.
yeah. I thought Murafushi has been doing quite well in this tournament.
Mhm.
But let's go to a predicted lineup. Who wants to go
Predicted lineup.
first?
I'll let you guys go first.
Okay. Who now? I almost want to play rock paper scissors on camera because I've never actually done that before.
Hmm.
But I'll just ask that. Who do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think Halifax is gonna line up pretty similarly to how they did against Edmonton. You know, I mean, we really don't have another center forward, so I think it's got to be Akeem Garcia, in
Yeah.
there, and
As a striker?
as a striker, yeah, because I mean the first game they played Zhao up top kind of as a false nine, but there was no one.
It just didn't really work.
That could, yeah, there was no one else that was in that area that he could kind of get. So I think they're going to play pretty similarly. I think they'll probably put in. They were saving Bent, and so he'll go in on one of the sides, and maybe Alex Marshall on the other side.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's just such an important game. I mean, I'm glad I'm not really making the decision, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I'll be nervous for the whole game because, 'cause
Yeah,
I will
it's.
be.
Me too. I just like if we lose this game, like what happens? Is our tournament a bust? Is our season a bust? Like
I
it's.
I
Yeah,
I
because no
don't.
one wants to just
We
stop
kind of feel
after
the
like
same way.
7 games. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's only
Like
7 games.
I feel like
that's it.
I feel like the Wanderers kind of feel the same way too because like we're on the upside, but so is York 9. And yes, I could see Stephen Hart going with the lineup that he did last time because like they want to have that momentum. But at the same time, with York 9 being able to get that attack going, like even from Roger Thompson, I just see him going with a 3-man midfield and maybe bring in JackMurray at the second half, depending on how it is. But how about you finish your lineup, then I'll go, and then Nathan will go.
Oh, that's pretty much done.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I don't know
Well, okay, I'll go with Christian Oxner at the back. I really want to see Luke Green play, but I think this is too much of an important game for him to play. But even though York
Yeah.
Luke Green has actually trained with the Wanderers squad last year. He just didn't get signed. So Peter Shaw and Gems. I think they're going to go for a bit more experience this time. So I'm going to go for Alex Karras on the left and Mateo Restrepo on the right. Even though he has been playing left back mostly this tournament, he can play on the right. Then I'm going to go with Louis Bella and Goyette, Abu Crazy Soko, and Andre Ramazan in the midfield. I think there is going to be a lot of like switching the triangle and stuff. And then up front, I think I'm going to have Corey on one side, Alex Marshall, and Akeem. So my front three is basically the same as Daddy's.
Yeah. For York 9, I'm going to say, like, I hope they go to back three. I'm going to have Nathan Ingham and Annette play Arnone, Gasparotto in that middle, and then Thompson. Then on the right wing back, you got Maury Donor. Left wing back, hopefully Abzi, if everything is okay. If not, Fugo Sagawa can do the job there. Have two in midfield of Aparicio and Di Chiara, and then a front three. I'm going to say Ryan Telfer on the left, Alvaro Rivero up front in the top, and hopefully Gabriel Vasconcelos at the right wing. I feel like because nobody knows much about him, I feel like this is the game to bring him on. Let's see what he can do, because there's not much you haven't seen him play much in this whole tournament. So he will probably be the one hidden player that Stephen Hart doesn't know much about. So
but with one,
yeah, you think
and
so?
I know
eh?
he has a strong, I know he's a strong background with playing with the Corinthians, a great like a great team. But are you really going in such an important game? Are you, as the manager, really going to put in maybe almost like and I know it's hard as like fans, as like news to predict because you haven't seen him play, but are you really going to put in kind of like an unknown after an underperforming 90 minutes first game?
Well, Brennan's been training with the team,
especially since you're kind of on that on the middle. You're on the cup of either you're gonna get in or you're gonna get out. Like one player here who he puts on could decide the fate of either us or both of us or one of us going through to the next round.
I would take a gamble.
Their coach.
I would take a gamble because at right wing, who else would you play? You've got Kyle Porter, who did have a very disappointing first three games. He didn't really do much. It's only that game against Hamilton that he actually came in and showed what he can do. Ija Halley, also a very young player. He tried in the Forge game, even in the times he came on as a late sub, like he kept trying, but I just think that you have nothing to lose, especially if you're playing with the back five. You have a lot more coverage, especially if he does make a mistake. And I feel like Vasconcelos he's a fast player, and with your fullbacks like Restrepo and De Carolis he's a good fullback, but I think Vasconcelos is very fast, and I think he can really give him some trouble down that side. So
and even our center backs,
and even
we've seen them be outrun in this tournament as well. So
yes,
speed would be
Peter
a good.
Would have to come up. Like Peter would sometimes have to come up and kind of run with him as he was a fullback, almost.
That's what Cavalry wanted. That's what in the Cavalry game. That's what they wanted. They wanted Peter to suck him in and get higher up the pitch than he wanted to be, and then hopefully force a turnover and do a quick break. But
because you look at Cavalry, their players like Mohamed Farsi, Mint Oliver, like they're fast players. Farsi's not even like a winger, but they play him as a winger now because of how fast he is and how much more space he can create for them. If someone tracks him when he's making a run, there's all of a sudden a gap on that side. So I think, Vasconcelos, if I were to play him and start him in any game or give him some more minutes, I think tomorrow's game would probably be the one.
Yeah.
And he's Brazilian, so.
Maybe we should just go to the overview. So do you have any either of you have any last comments about the game?
No, I think we should just.
It's going to be exciting, and I'm going to see it.
Yeah, I think we should just give our predictions.
Yeah, predictions.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
let's just go to our predictions.
I think it's going to be a 3-1 victory for York 9. I think the first half
Whoa.
I think the first half is going to be very tight, and maybe there might be a penalty in there. And once we get if we get 2 goals, say in the first half or early in the second half, then Halifax will feel the pressure, like we have to push, and that's where we can get a third maybe. But I don't think we'll keep the clean sheet. There's no way we're keeping the clean sheet tomorrow. So 3-1.
I, I, I don't, maybe not a clean sheet, but I don't think you guys are going to win with such a low goal percentage and with not like such prolific goal scorers in that team, because you have Alvaro Rivera who scored 1 goal, Ryan Telfer, you said, which he's kind of not that clinical, you could say, because of how many shots he's had and how many he scored.
Yeah, but he's bound to score sometime.
Yeah, and he scored a lot last year. So.
But he's bound to score sometime, and he did score a lot of goals last season. But that's in a huge extended season, and but that's in like a big season. It's not like 1, 2, 3 games, and I'm sure even like he's never played so many games that are this high intensity right after one another. No one has, but I just don't see York 9 getting so many goals, 3-1 with a solid back line with lots of options. Mm-hmm. I just don't see that happening. I like to see a lot of goals, but maybe even I'd like to see a win, but it's gonna. I feel like it's gonna be 2-2. I don't feel like it's like one team is gonna outweigh one another.
Yeah.
And if Pacific win their game against Cavalry, then that's a real upset, and then one of us, I don't think, is going to get through to the next round. If Pacific lose, on the other hand, then both of us might go through, but if Pacific win, then one of us is going to go.
I just feel like tomorrow's game, like, York 9 has, like, if we don't get a win, if we don't come out attacking, like, that's it. You can't hope that Pacific loses. You can't count on that. You just have to do your best. And for me, 3-1, I just like players like Ryan Telfer. He was our second most top goal scorer last year, and he can score. He's a very good player, and some of his shots have forced very good saves. So I think he's bound to score a goal sometimes. So I would say 3-1.
And even if you get a penalty, and if Christian Oxner is playing, I feel like I'm cheering more when we get a penalty, because I feel like Christian Oxner saves more than he actually lets in.
It's still a dangerous game to play.
Yeah. Did you know that Joe DiChiara hasn't missed a single penalty for York 9 so far? So
how many penalties has he scored? Well,
he's taken 2 this tournament, which he's scored both of them. I think he took like 1 last year against Ford, so he's a very good penalty taker. Even in his past 2 penalties, they're very confident strikes. He gives the keeper the eyes and sends them the wrong way. So
I think it's gonna be 2-1 Halifax, and I don't know who it's gonna be from, but I think there's gonna be a penalty that's very controversial. that probably should not have been given. I don't know which team, but I think it's going to be to one of the teams, and it's going to be very frustrating to the supporters of that team.
This game is controversial. Like, the stakes are so high. I just can't see Halifax losing, and I can't see York 9 losing either. That's why I gave it 2-2 draw. But I think this game is going to be very important for both players. I just don't see it happen. I just don't see, I just can't see one of these maybe the Halifax Wanderers, because I feel like their attack is very good. I feel like we're very clinical. We don't need too many chances. But at the same time, I feel like it's almost hard for us to create chances. So it kind of balances it out. But it could go either way. I feel like this game is going to be crazy, just because This is the game that I was looking forward to most because we know a lot of people who are York 9 fans.
Yeah.
A lot of our family lives in lives in the Toronto region, so I know a lot of people and I know a lot of friends over there. So it's kind of, this is the biggest game of the tournament so far for us.
I think this is the biggest game in the entire tournament for everyone. Like, this determines everything.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, yeah,
At this
honest,
point, with all the ties, yeah, you could.
Yeah.
This really could be the most important game. It's like a 6-pointer, and one of these, and it could be a 6-pointer. Oh my! This game is just so interesting to talk about. Even though we haven't seen it yet.
If there is a draw tomorrow, does that mean that Atletico Ottawa and Valor still have a chance? Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
because
it does.
I think
there's
it does.
still
Yeah.
3 more games left, so I think tomorrow's game is probably the most important of the tournament so far. So I'm very excited. So
I think that Valor won't go through just because their 4 goals was against their 4 goals were their own. I feel it. The only win of the tournament was against Ottawa, right? And all of their goals came after the red card, which kind of shows something. And Atletico Ottawa, like you could say, they do kind of throw it away easily, almost at the 90th minute. Like even that happened with FC Edmonton. So I actually don't think that Valor are super contenders. Maybe they could, but I see Atletico Ottawa as more likely to go through, especially since they have shown that they can battle, Ottawa can battle, but it will be exciting to see how they do against the 2 best teams in the league, which games are coming up.
And keep in mind, Pacific has, but keep in mind Pacific's next game, they have Cavalry, and then Atletico and Edmonton. So, I mean, they should be able to count on maybe 2 wins there against Atletico and Edmonton.
Yeah.
Which makes this game even more interesting.
Also,
the thing is,
right? Atletico.
Yeah, but also,
so
I feel like even if there's a draw, the Wanderers will be in a slightly better position because you haven't played Cavalry, and although you guys did really well against Forge, I feel like Forge and Cavalry are it's very different to do well against Forge and then to do well against Cavalry. 2 games in a row when you're getting tireder and tireder, and Tommy Whelan Jr. showed that he knows how to switch his team around. He knows how to get the fresh bodies on. Like now, Jay Wielden is starting, Elliot Simmons. He's just done a really good job with that. So, and they're a well-oiled machine. I don't think that they are going to be getting. I don't think that anyone is going to be beating them in this next round, except for. No one's going to be beating them. Yeah, no one's going to be beating them in this. In the first round at least. In the first round at least. Maybe they might lose something like in the second round, but they're not losing.
They lost against Atletico Ottawa yesterday, so they show that they can make some mistakes. So I think that's something that Tommy Whelan Jr. will certainly address, but everyone now knows that team can make mistakes. Malcolm Shaw's finished. Nobody's tested Carducci like that before, so.
Yeah, and some of my friends are tying, and I think we came to the conclusion that if Marco Carducci was in our net, he would get worse results than a Christian Oxner, because I feel like Cavalry's backline is just so solid that he doesn't have to. He's a very good keeper, he is, but I feel like they really. Protect him very well. Like their defense is just perfect. If you think about their whole defense, whether it's Nathan Maville, whether it's Mo Farsi and their center backs, Voskovic or Mason Trapper, Dominic Zator, Jay Wielden, do you really find a weak point in that back line? For me, it's really hard to find a weak point in that back line.
I think the weak point is probably Jay Wielden and Mason Trafford. Zator is a top quality defender. He's probably the best defender in this league. But after Joel Waterman left, he doesn't have a for sure partner, and because they've been switching almost every game. Zator has been their for sure go-to center back, but who's his pairing partner? That's what you have to look at. That's their weak point for them. And we saw that yesterday the other day where Jay Wheeldon made a couple mistakes, and then all of a sudden the next game Mason Trafford was starting. And then Mason Trafford made a few mistakes, and then Jay Wheeldon was starting. So
I guess, but...
And Mavilla also, since he pushes up so high, I think nobody's really tested. They know how. The thing with Cavalry is they know how to cover when people push up. So
right,
it's just finding, like, if Mavilla pushes up, Mo Farsi, he's very fast and he knows how to recover quickly. But Nathan Mavilla, not that fast to recover. He's always got someone there covering for him. So if a team can exploit that and figure how to put pressure on that side when Mavilla pushes forward, I think Cavalry can really be brought down a notch, but they are a very good team. So
yeah, they are a very good team, but I think we've talked a little about the other teams, but mostly about this game. And basically, one thing that I've learned from this is that the stakes are much higher than I originally thought. I knew the stakes were high, but talking about it kind of elevated the stakes more, and now I'm getting more and more nervous each minute and each second and each hour to the game. But it's definitely gonna be an exciting game. So everybody, you have to tune into this game. This is gonna be this is probably gonna be one of the biggest games, other than the final, probably, or if there's a deciding game for who gets into the final. But this is definitely going to be a big game, so make sure you have you watch this game and check out Nathan Green Lions TV's YouTube channel. It's Green Lions TV. We'll put a link in the description. And thanks again for talking with us, Nathan. We really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. I had a really nice time. Like, it's awesome to talk to you guys. You guys are such passionate fans and know so much about soccer. So it's always
you know a lot about soccer too, and I just love talking about it. I love doing this. Just a chat. It's always fun to chat with like a friend who knows a lot about soccer, especially if, like you're kind of cheering for two different sides, but you come to the agreement that you're going to talk, and it's just exciting. It's just fun to hear each side, but at the end of the day, you have your own opinion, and at the end of the day, there will be a winner, a loser, or it will be a tie. But
which wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah,
to be honest,
York9 might go back to their previous track record. So, man.
Well, we'll have to do a post-mortem after the season. Catch up with you again.
Yeah.
And, so any last words, Nathan, before we end the call here today?
I think that's it. Yeah, I'm really excited for tomorrow's game. You guys are a great team, and if York9 doesn't go through, I will be definitely rooting for the Halifax Wanderers. So
thank you, and we'll be cheering for York9 if we don't go through, but hopefully both of our teams get through.
Yeah, hopefully.
Thank you so much again for coming on. And yeah, we should do like a review of all of their games when the season is done. Hopefully closer to the end of the season when because if they both get knocked out of the first round, Ottawa and Pacific go through, that'll be kind of really sad. But hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And
to be optimistic, who knows? We might be doing a preview of York9 and Halifax in the finals.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You already beat Forge, so.
Yeah, and we tied with Forge. We lost to Cavalry, but who knows? Maybe who knows? Maybe that now that Cavalry has been beaten, it might not be such a daunting task to take on the almighty Cavalry.
Yeah, very exciting times for the island.
Cavalry and Calgary. But I feel like I've said thank you to you so much in like 5 different ways, but I'm gonna say it again. Thank you for coming on, and that is our preview. So make sure to check out that game.
Thank you guys for having me. It's really exciting. Okay.
Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah.
Talk to you
Best
later.
of luck for
Thanks.
tomorrow.
Bye.
You too.
Yeah, good luck. Too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.